Hello, this is Dr. Morse again. I felt it important to do a video on the simplicity of the human body and how it works, so you can have an insight and you can have the knowledge of how to be well and to be healthy. It's so simple. And when you understand the simplicity of health, you'll start to see that the intellectual side, the treatment-based thinking in our society must come to an end. That we must understand that we're facing extreme genetic weaknesses in our children, extreme lymphatic stagnation from these weaknesses, and a lot of cancer, diabetes, neurological problems, and it's easy to understand what causes these. And it's also easy to find the remedy to it. However, it is a job to acquire a remedy in today's children. There's a lot of work ahead of you parents to rebuild the genetic memories in cells. And that's my specialty. I'm a biochemist, naturopath, got many herbal degrees, health and fitness, iridology. I spent the last 40 years in this field. And my clients have been my greatest learning tool that there could ever be. And I've seen well over 100,000 people in my life. My personal friend, Dr. Jensen, well over 300,000. He was in the health field for 75 years. And although not a vitalist, he brought the scope of iridology to a whole nother level. And important for those practitioners out there to learn iridology. What a great discovery by a surgeon in 1853. So I want to take you down a path of how your body works, very simplistically. And in understanding this, you will have the tools and the knowledge to fix any problem you have. Great example, I had a lady with spinal bifida, born without a L4, L5. This is the vertebrae to the kidneys. In 3 years on raw food, she now has L4 and L5. This is the power the body has to regenerate itself. And I could give you case after case after case. So let's start off with some simple things about the human body. Your body is comprised of roughly 100 trillion cells. And I say roughly because it depends what school you go to. Science is still very ignorant of the truth. And we have to just, kind of find a balance in that. So the human body, whether you're talking about the nerves, you're talking about the skin, the bones, the muscle, the liver, the pancreas, the kidneys, the ovaries, the prostate, the brain, doesn't matter. All the human body is comprised of are cells and two major fluids. That predominates your body. Cells and fluids. Some of your cells are so small you can hardly see them, and some a foot long. But it's ultimately the cell that makes up the structure, the cell that makes up the organs and glands. The buck stops at the cell. Now there's two major fluids that dominate the human body, and these two major fluids obviously is responsible for taking care of the health of the cells. Outside of that you have some bacterium, and bacterium are the janitors of life. If you walk out to your septic tank, you'll find bacteria. You wouldn't go out and put antibiotics in your septic tank and kill the bacteria in your septic tank, would you? Because someday you're going to flush your toilet and wish you had them. Because nothing would break matter down. And we live in a universe where there is no voids. It's already built. We need those atoms. We have a lot of new babies coming in. Nobody can come to this planet, no new trees, no new animals, no new humans, without atoms. And if we're using all the atoms, then no one can come. So we have to have things that break matter down to give us more atoms. And that's what the microbial kingdom mostly is. So looking at the bacterium community, they're great for toxicity and toxins. The viral community. There's a law of nature that you see on Animal Planet, Discover channels, and that is simple. The strong survive, the weak are consumed. You must apply this to the cells in your body. And so virals are like antigens. They attach magnetically to weakened cells and hence initiate an immune response to that cell. So they're important to life. But just because you have a viral load in your body doesn't mean they're actually adhering to cells. A good example of that is the difference between HIV viral load and AIDS, where they're attaching. Same thing with Hep C. So viral loads, we've got fungus out there. Fungus is a fermentation family. Candida is a popular thought out there. You particularly see that in people with weak adrenal glands, where the adrenal glands control sugar metabolism, and we're a society that eats starch. So because of that, we don't metabolize that amount of sugars. Fermentation is happening in everybody, and of course the fungal family comes in and deals with that. And we eat a lot of yeast, breads, cheeses, a lot of fungus out there. So it's good to have a control over that group. There's no question about it. Some people have worms and flukes. You can get those out of the body. And then there's some body chemistry. So going back to the fact that the body's predominantly cells and two fluids. One fluid is obvious. You must feed 100 trillion cells. Each cell requires carbon and oxygen, just like your car motor. So carbon is gasoline, carbohydrates. These are simple sugars. And so carbon and oxygen, here's our carburetor like a car, carbon and oxygen comes together in the cell, yanks out hydrogen, and now you have cell energy, ATP. So that's vital for every cell. You have the endocrine glands, which are little chemical manufacturing plants. The liver, a major chemical transmutation factory. So you have a lot of chemistry going on in the body, and you need to be able to feed the cells. So obviously one fluid's going to be the kitchen of the body. So you have a big kitchen in there called the bloodstream, and this is full of blood vessels and livers and the whole nine yards. Pancreases, small bowels, this is where you break down your food. You got to absorb them. And a lot of endocrine glands are important because you need to utilize the chemistry. So there's a lot goes on in the chemistry and the feeding aspect of cells, but it's simple. It's just the kitchen. But you must also understand that anything that eats eliminates waste. And so that's important to understand, that anything eats poops. And that includes 100 trillion cells. I don't think you can tell me too many people that poop in their kitchen. Although medically, that's about what they think. And massage therapy, unfortunately, bought into that kind of thinking. There's a whole entire system, and just like a house, there's a whole separate system in your house that is the sewer system that is separate from your kitchen. You have some sewer pipes in your kitchen. And in your body, even your blood dumps what it doesn't want into the sewer system. The sewer system in your body is called the Great Lymphatic System. I have a part of a new book series coming out on my website, robertmorrisend.com. It's called the Great Lymphatic System, and I'm having a book series called The Illusion Called Diseases. It's a book series about all of this. And the reason I call it illusion called disease is because that is appropriate. There is no such thing as diseases. This is made up by the intellectual community to keep you in fear and disempower you to simply understand how the body works. And there's no questions. Nothing flies in from Moose Jaw, Alaska here. There's a reason for everything. Everything's cause and effect here. And if you understand a few things about how your body's made and the two sides of chemistry, you will understand the bulk of why you or most people suffer and how you simply can turn this around for yourself. So back again, we're back at the blood. That feeds everybody. But what about the sewer system? The great lymph system is easy to understand. Now, the lymphatic system includes a mucosa that lines the mouth, the sinuses, the bronchi, the lungs, the gut. The whole body's lined with this mucosa or mucous membrane. It produces mucus. I'm sure there isn't one person listening to this that hasn't experienced mucus, either from a cold and flu-like symptom, which is simply a detoxification symptom, or in one way or another. You see it in your urine. If your kidneys are filtering lymphatically, you see it in your stools. You see it coming out the nose, up the mouth, out the ears, and vaginally for women. This mucus is the great sewer system of the body. It's a thicker, mucousy, lipid-based fluid, generally cholesterol. And this is because of one side of chemistry that it takes care of. And it needs to be a thicker, more protective fluid than the blood. The blood is a thinner fluid. It needs to move faster through the body. Lymph fluids are much thicker. If you want to know how your lymph system works, I've said it's this easy. Think about how your lymphatic system works at home, how your home sewer system works, in other words. When you've got to go to the bathroom, you go to the toilet. You flush the toilet, and your wastes go out into the sewer pipes. For those of you know, there's a septic tank out in your yard, or the city has a big septic tank where your wastes go. And then there's all these little bacteria in there going, food, time to eat. Time to eat. Better them than us, eh? So the bacteria in the septic tank is vital. You wouldn't, like I said, go kill the bacteria in your septic tank and expect it not to back up in your house. So if you look at your body, it works the same way. You know, cells can't get up and go to the bathroom. You ever think about that? Cells just can't get up and go to the bathroom. So they live on a river of fluids. Every cell has fluids flowing around them. And these are called interstitial fluids, simply fluids that flow around the cells. And which fluids are these interstitial fluids? You'll see them when you pop a pimple. And these interstitial fluids is blood and lymph. The blood brings in the goodies and carries on down the road. The lymph picks the waste up from the cellular activity of chemistry, metabolism, and the like, and pulls these wastes into the lymph vessels. Like blood vessels, they're lymph vessels. So in a house, the water pipes would be considered the blood vessels, and the sewer pipes would be considered the sewer system. And of course, from these lymph vessels, it's off to the body's septic tanks, and you've got hundreds of them. Lymph nodes, the under the arm, axillary, you got tons of lymph nodes. The groin, they're all through you. Tonsils, adenoids, appendix, all lymph nodes. Medical doctors like to cut them out when they're swollen. So when your septic tank gets full, just remove it. And keep using and flushing your toilet, and I'll show you what's going to happen to you. And that's exactly what happens to people without tonsils, adenoids, and appendixes. And therefore you get stiff, tight shoulders. If it's a tonsils or adenoids, you get glaucoma, lymph pressure, brain lesions, brain cancers, palate cancers. The list is long. You lose your sense of smell and taste. Your sinuses back up. You lose your teeth. You lose your jaw. You get dizzy when it's a cerebellum and have vertigo. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. It's a minor form of lymphedema. So it's important not to remove lymph nodes. And of course, if you have a cell that's been damaged, which we call a cancer cell, wouldn't you want it in the lymph nodes? Because the lymph nodes are full of what in your body? That's right, bacteria and immune cells. That's their job. This is the sewer system. This is the system that breaks these things down. Where else? You wouldn't dump it in the blood, would you? No. Not civilized, of course. So, from the lymph nodes, most people think you reabsorb these wastes back into the venous system. And I find this so stupid of thinking, because you ignore the biggest eliminative organs of the body in relationship to cellular waste. And that is the 3 kidneys. You must understand that your kidneys have a far better role than just to filter water. I don't know where these guys got that. These are the filtering organs of the great lymphatic system. It is true, most people have lost their filtering of the lymph ability, so they don't pee much. But when you start filtering, your urine will be cloudy like it's snow in the sky, and you will see a lot of sediment like dandruff, which is nothing but cellular sewage, coming in your urine. Very important. The 3 kidneys. Well, the right kidney, of course, drains the right brain, the right arm, the right breast or chest, the right hip, the right ovary, the right testicle, the right leg, and the left. Well, where's the 3rd kidney? Well, where's the 3rd kidney? It's wrapped all the way around you, your skin. That's why in health we promote sweating. That's why you have your sweat lodges. This is why, going back in the dawn of time, you promoted sweating. The body promotes its own sweating. If you have a good thyroid, you can get a fever. And when you get a fever, you begin to sweat. And what do you sweat? Toxins. Well, what kind of toxins could you possibly sweat out? Cellular waste, because the body is cells and two fluids. It's all about cellular waste. Toxins just doesn't even fly in from Moose Jaw, Alaska. Now you have parasitic waste, but they're also picked up in the sewer system that they live in. Very important. Even the blood, like I said, cleans its waste into the lymph system from the spleen and the kidneys. So very important to understand the role of the kidneys and the skin. You see psoriasis, eczema, rashes, rosacea. That's sewage. Dandruff, that's cellular waste. And if they're coming out your skin more aggressively, that means they're not coming out your kidneys. Once you get your kidneys filtering, your skin will clean up just as nice as can be. And yet, you've got dermatologists with all kinds of salves and steroids and suppressing the body's ability to clean and all this kind of crazy, idiotic thinking. It's amazing. There isn't a skin problem you can't rebuild, including melanomas. I mean, melanomas, that's all lymphatics. It's all lymph cancers. I find it amazing. I find it amazing, like this new drug they said the other day. For $110,000, you can buy yourself 4 months with a melanoma. But of course, about 27-28% of the people will die from it. I mean, I can't believe there was a medical doctor or a news analyst that would have the gall to even say that. That's like we have accepted the radical as normal and the normal is radical. And this is just what the medical profession wants you to think. They don't want you to know the truth. They don't want to show how stupid they are. And I no offense to my friends that are medical doctors, but my friends who are medical doctors are now becoming naturopaths. And they're seeing through this grand illusion they were taught. Not their fault. They were taught this. You got to go back and understand who created the AMA. And a concerted effort to take your money and then to terminate your life. I mean, you look at the agenda of the World Health Organization. Not a very friendly organization, and would love to restrict your access to vitamins and minerals and herbs. And if you let them do that in this country, you're losing the Constitution, and you're now becoming an extreme follower. And anything's up for grabs. You'll never have the ability to be well. They're doing it to our foods, and we must stop this now. This is insanity. These people need to be ran out of Dodge. No two ways about it. This is insane. We've let these people get away with it, and I, for one, am not going to let that happen. And you'll see a lot of people that are standing up. Tea Party, standing up. We cannot allow this government to be stupid anymore. We don't have the time. And it's also in relationship to their health. Women can't conceive and have children anymore. The children are dying of cancer like you've never seen. And that more people die of the treatment of, including pneumonias. People die from pneumonia. Nobody dies from pneumonia with me. They die from the complications of, basically the treatment of. Most people die from the treatment of their problems, not from their problems. We must waken up to this. You know, when you look at the CDC centers and you start studying the statistics that are out there, last year, again, over 1 million people were killed by the AMA, pharmaceutical companies, and hospitals. And none from people like us. None from the God people who are carrying on the tradition of healing nature's way since the beginning of time. We're not alternative, they're alternative, and radically so. Tying a child's stomach around the esophagus so he can't throw up sounds a little insane? Very insane. Just happened to a poor mother. It's just unbelievable, the insanity. Botox treatments to the rectum because they couldn't poop. Now, this is insanity, and most people are accepting that as normal. Let me tell you, wake up, start smelling the roses, because I'm telling you, the mass slaughter of the human being is taking place, and we're now allowing it. We're allowing the FDA to allow chemicals on the market that kill. Just listen real close to the side effects of medications that's on the TV. Unbelievable they would allow that. And they have the audacity to blame an herb that has never hurt anybody. This is what's going on out there, and it's got to stop, because that shows that we're extremely uncivilized, and we have our heads where the sun doesn't shine, and that's an insult to the Supreme Being. the Supreme Being. We need to live in the glory of the all and the beautiful. And this planet is a beautiful planet. And man's got to get with that. The laws are there. The laws of chemistry and physics are, we know most of them, at least a lot of them. So going back to the human body, bunch of cells, two major fluids, and the lymph system is where 99% of most people's problems are. And the reason? Chemistry. How many sides of chemistry are there? I told you earlier, there's two sides of chemistry. Now they found a couple new elements the other day, and they said there's plenty more elements we haven't discovered. Now elements are what all of matter is made from. So we got what, 123, 126 elements. I'm a chemist and I can't even remember. So we've got all these elements, and now we're playing with chemistry like we're God. So now we've created all these radical compounds like coal tar products and all these pharmaceuticals and all these antifreeze products and all these cleaners and all this chemistry. So chemistry is bonded magnetically together naturally. When we break chemistry apart, and this happens in cooking as well, when we break chemistry apart, then that magnetic bond is open to rebond with other elements or compounds. And this has created a lot of radical chemistry. So there's a lot of chemistry on the planet. But there's only two sides to chemistry. And to keep it simple, let's divide those two sides of chemistry up into genders. Let's gender them. Let's give one side of chemistry the male side, and let's give the other side of chemistry the female side. All right? Now, the male side of chemistry, that is the corrosive side, we call it in chemistry. It is the aggressive side of chemistry. It's the inflammatory side of chemistry. Men like to typically tear things apart and see how they're made. Women, they're the opposite. They like to build things. They're the nesting. They're the love side of life. They're the musicians, the singers, the dancers, the songwriters, the poetry writers, the quilt makers. When a male is creative, that's his female side. When I say I love you, that's my female side. When I get angry, that's my male side. And the same thing with a woman. When she's aggressive, that's her male side. And when she's loving, that's her female side. And chemistry is the same way. I spent years in emergency rooms, and all ER visits is male chemistry. And of course, male chemistry is called the acid side of chemistry. So all ER visits is acidosis. Now what do we do when you come into the ER? You get an IV, and depending on your problem, and a bag of normal saline is hung, and we run a female or base chemistry into your body. That's because you're very acidic. And to back down acids, just like you had heartburn, you need something on the other side of chemistry, anything. So base chemistry, or what's called alkaline chemistry, is the female chemistry on the planet, and this is a predominantly base, that's why we call it base, chemistry planet. Back in the 1800s, the chemistry of the air and most fruits and vegetables were 80-20. 80% base chemistry to only 20% acid chemistry. Nowadays, with all the acid air from all the car exhaust and the pollution, because chemical byproducts from chemical reactions and actions are predominantly acids. And so when you look in the body, your body produces several pounds of cellular waste every day you live. And if I sit here talking to you, moving my muscles, that's lactic acid. And it's okay to produce acids, if what? If you can remove them. We have a lot of pro athletes here, and they come in here hurting, generally RA, rheumatoid arthritis, or some type of arthritis. They've hurt themselves by building up using high proteins, but the body can't use proteins, and these are acidic, damages the kidneys and the colon, blamed on number one reason why colon cancer was number one for generations. We're not looking at the kidneys, most practitioners, but proteins damage the kidneys big time. There was a lady in here the other day, and I asked her what she's in seeing me for, and she said, well, I'm peeing out parts of my bladder. I said, you're peeing out parts of your bladder? She said, yes. They went in, the medical doctors went in, scoped my bladder, and said it deteriorated inside. And I said, well, what kind of chemistry did you get into, honey? And she says, well, I don't know. She said, I've been on the Atkins diet for 5 years. Now, that's insanity. And if those of you that are listening that are on a high-protein diet, I give you extreme warning. You're going to lose your kidneys, and you're going to create extreme acidosis. And you can name any kind of disease, and it's all acidosis. So I would back away from high protein diets. Our species cannot handle them. You want to pump amino acids, pump greens. Alfalfa, I don't care. Barley, wheatgrass, I don't care. Pump greens. At least you're getting a base chemistry, and you're not going to get stiff and acidic and lose your kidneys, and everything goes to heck from there. So real important to understand the two sides of chemistry, the base side and the acid side. Now the scale, we use a little pH scale in chemistry to play with that. I had these litmus papers when I was growing up in a chemistry set. And people check their saliva and their urine. Problem is you can't go into the body and check interstitially. Remember, interstitially means around the cells. So you can't put it interstitially or around the cells in the liver and get the pH of that. So it's, it's just a little play game. But the pH scale is 0 to 14. 7 is neutral, blood is 7.4. It is not real base chemistry, but it is base chemistry. The blood cannot be acidic. If the blood gets acidic, I'll give you about 4 minutes to live. So if you eat a piece of meat, you could die from that. The problem is, or I'll say the saving grace is that your body can pull calcium out of its walls to keep the blood in a base chemistry scenario. After too much of this, though, you'll start to see varicose veins, spider veins, you'll start bruising easy, and you'll see all the other problems that go out from that. So very serious if you acidify the blood too much in terms of its ability to steal calcium and the end result of that. Your lymph fluids, of course, again, remember, a thicker mucousy fluid. And since cholesterol is the body's main antacid, always love this, there's good and bad cholesterol. Another, when someone says that to you, they don't have a clue to what cholesterol is. They don't have a clue to how the body works. Cholesterol is the body's main antacid. LDL is what the adrenal steroids are made from, and HDL is cell wall phospholipids. It protects the body against acids, because if you don't protect the body against acids, you lose. It's a simple game between two sides of chemistry. Acids win, you lose. And so the body doesn't like to lose. So it'll use cholesterol, or it'll steal calcium out of its connective tissue or bones to fight acids. Of course, you'll get calcifications and stenosis and hardening of tissue, and you'll get cholesterol plaquing over years of this. And bone spurs, everything else. So real serious problems if you quit filtering from the kidneys, and this is the problem. Man has quit filtering in a great way from his kidneys. The question is why? Well, we know the protein diets predominantly. You don't see so much of this in the islanders who do not eat the high protein diets. You have to consider also the adrenal glands on top of the kidneys control kidney filtration, probably through dopamine or one of the neurotransmitters. And of course, with kidneys, now we have all the adrenal gland problems, all the neurological problems, the sugar metabolism problems. We could go on, and I could show you how to link every condition man suffers from to just one thing, and that's the inability to move your lymphatic system, the inability of you to remove acids out of your body. Because if I'm a cell in your pancreas, and my job is to supply insulin, how do you damage me? How do you stop me from doing that? Well, I could be born that way. In my thinking genetically, I could be born where I'm just not a real smart cell. I can change that, by the way. Also, the nervous system tells me to function. By the way. Also, the nervous system tells me to function. But the outside of those two things, or trauma, is blood and lymph, the two fluids that directly affect me. Ever notice when you have constipation you don't feel good? Well, most people have constipation of another kind, a major other kind, called lymphatic constipation. I coined a new word. It's called interstitial lymphatic constipation. Simply means your lymph system isn't moving anywhere fast, and the inflammation is the end result, or acidosis, in other words, is the end result. You see this a lot in the GI tract wall, giving you IBS, Crohn's, cancers, polyps, and all kinds of things. Acid refluxes from that sort of scenario. So understanding the two sides of chemistry. 0 to 7 is the acid side. Battery acid has a pH of 1. Stomach acid, 1.8 to 2. Coca-Cola, 2.5. And most soda pops, 2.5 to 3. Gatorade, 2.85, according to the Minnesota School of Dentistry. Well, that's supposed to be a rehydrating drink. Again, more fraud, more people that don't care, you know, and that's too bad. I think the National Football League got wind of that, and I think now there's some problems with that. Because if you're out there working out and you're running and you're beating the pavement, you create a lot of acids. Now, you've got to get those out. We call it rehydration. So this is a little bit of a long video, but if you get this, you will have a great understanding of the human body. So I'm going to just to show you one other thing is chemotherapy has a pH of 1 to 2. The older chemo was much more like battery acid. The newer chemo is more like hydrochloric acid. It'll still chew your cells up. So let's see, what damages a cell? Well, in chemistry, the acid side, obviously. Even CNN ran a special years ago and went to a chemist and asked him about cancer. Anybody that doesn't know what causes cancer right now, shame on you. Because it's easy to understand that. Cancer's not a disease. It's a damaged cell. What damages cells? Well, there are only two sides of chemistry, and both sides can't hurt you. Only one. That's the acid side. The ironic thing here is that you die on your own waste. But these acids must be neutralized in a timely manner. So chemotherapy is about 10 to 30 times hotter than the acid that damage the cells. Most cellular acids like phosphoric, carbonic acids are about 3 pH. So can you imagine, the acid that damages your cells and causes it to become an atypical or cancer cell is about 3, and they give you a chemotherapy of 1.5 to 2. Make sense? You know, it's criminal. So one day, they will be going to jail for doing this. Don't ever think. Jane Velez Mitchell made it sound like chemotherapy was God's next best drink. Well, then you take it, Jane, and I guarantee you're not going to be a happy camper. Because, as I said in my other videos, most people die from it. Not what you said, where most people live from it. That is misinformation and a bald-faced lie. Most of these experimental chemotherapy groups, most people die in them. So those few that survive, good, I'm happy. But start fixing the problem, because your potential of it coming back is big time. Because it doesn't move on you. You damage more cells. That's another interesting concept. Your cells pop out of one tissue and move into another tissue, causing cancer there. I mean, there's a lot of crap out there, guys. A lot of misinformation, a lot of lies, a lot of stupidity. And if you buy into it, you're going to get yourself in trouble. So keep it simple. The body's nothing but a bunch of cells. The two major fluids control the health of the cells. And there's only two sides to chemistry. Understand the acid side of chemistry. So I'll close this video by saying that you must change your diet to a lot of fruits and vegetables, which is predominantly the base chemistry. Get away from the dead animals, the beans, the grains, all this crap that somebody said was good for you. The dairy products, which superclog the lymph system. This stuff is horrible. And these groups that make it are just out for the money, because there's nothing healthy about it. There's nothing healthy about milk. Not at all. You want calcium from it? How come we can say one glass of fresh squeezed orange juice has more calcium than probably 8 glasses of milk? That's because when we pasteurize milk, we just bonded the chemistry and you can't even get the calcium out of it. And the milk is not a digestible food after age 2. That's if it's your own mother's. Even human infants can't digest raw cow's milk. That's why you see a lot of people going to raw goat's milk. Still, after age 2, I've got infants so full of cancer, I've got to get them off of all milks at age 1. Serious problems. We have children with brain cancers and all of this. That's because they're born not filtering their lymphatic system. And you must move your sewer system in your body. That's all there is to it. So dig more into that. I've got a book on the market. It gets deeper into this. We're trying to get everything on the website for you. But understand how simple the human body is and take care of it. Health is a base chemistry experience. And detoxification, of course, is the process of cleaning the lymph system. You must clean that lymph system. You must get it moving. I'll throw one little other thing to you, and that's what anionic and cationic means, just for those brainers out there. Acids create an anionic environment. That's a dehydrated environment. That's an environment of coagulation of fluids. Things dry up in you. You become dehydrated. Go to a nursing home. One door after another. Acidosis, acidosis, acidosis. And then they march them down for an acid meal. They never come out of that. I love to pull people out of nursing homes. It freaks out the medical doctors. Because you can regenerate tissue. I don't care how old you are. Don't ever think you have no hope, because that's ridiculous. My problem is I've had to clean up the mess from the American Medical Association for years. And the stuff I've seen just makes me want to throw up. So important to keep your health and don't hurt your body too much, because the deeper and the more you break down your cells, the harder it is to get you back, because your human body is all about the cell, and the two fluids take care of the health of the cell. A cationic environment is an alkaline or base chemistry experience where you start detoxifying. It starts rehydrating and moving these fluids. Takes a while. Your lymph system is miles long, and the longer you've been acidic, the more coagulated and dried up you get. Fibroids, tumors, cysts, boils, pimples. This is all the lymph system. These aren't blood clots. You've got a lymph, you've got blood clots. So be careful with this. And I'll give you one other story here. This was a lady that she was 67 years old. She lived in her van. She lived in McDonald's parking lots and Walmart parking lots. She had a breast cancer. Now, you can do a mastectomy or a lumpectomy, okay, but don't do radiation chemotherapy on top of it, because you're asking for the cancer to come raging back, because you just damaged a whole lot more cells, and in many places. Radiation has come, a lot of women come in here with lung cancer because of radiation treatments. And there's a lot of leukemias, of course, created from chemotherapy. So you're creating more problems for your body, and sometimes to the point where we can't save you. So don't destroy the body too much. So they removed her breast, and they charged her so much money she didn't have any money left, so she had to live in her van. And I'm explaining to her that her breast is nothing but a bunch of cells and two fluids, that they drain their lymph system into these axillary bed of lymph nodes and then hop and skip and jump out this right kidney. She looked at me and she said, you know, they removed my right kidney. I said, honey, that's where your problem was all along, was in the kidney, not in your breast. That was the effect of the problem. She looked at me and she lifted up her dress, and her right leg was this big, elephant leg. And I said, oh, honey, they didn't connect your lymph vessels. In other words, she had major lymphedema. She looked at me and she says, you know, I'm going to die, aren't I? I said, well, honey, I don't know. I can fix kidneys even if they're hanging by a string, but they removed them. So I never saw her again. She probably died in a McDonald's parking lot somewhere. You know, sad stories. And I've got a book full of them. A book full of them. Stupid stuff. Learn detoxification. It's an art. I'm going to do a video on detoxification and show you the art of it, because it's a process. Sometimes fun, sometimes not so fun. But it still is the light at the end of the tunnel for you guys. So keep yourself well. Eat predominantly fruits and vegetables. Stay away from the cooked foods as much as possible. Get rid of the dead animals and the dead animal milks. Eat healthy. Eat fruit and berries and melons predominantly. And I'll see you in the next video. Thank you very much.